Radhe Radhe everyone. Welcome to our daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Nitinji, Radhe Radhe, over to you for our session.
Radhe Radhe, Mritamani ji. Radhe Radhe, Vijay ji, for the wonderful session. Pangu, it reminds me of a shloka, the beautiful shloka, right? In
yes.
Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate giri.
Very good. That's right. That's the nice way to connect the dots. Yes.
Antarjala is a new word I learned today for internet.
Right.
All right. Welcome everybody. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening. Hope you had a great weekend and a great start to your new week as well. And welcome back to today's edition, like Vijayji said, Anushtanam of Bhagavad Gita. So we will continue on our discussion on 3.39 today. We will look at desire. We'll go a little deeper into this topic because this is the formidable enemy that is defeating us hands down, and we feel vulnerable in front of it. And we will go a little deeper into it and look at this concept. What does it actually result in? We looked at the aspects why we keep failing in front of it, and we'll today look at it. What happens if we keep succumbing to our desires? Like I said, Bhagavad Gita, like Swamiji explains, it is divine knowledge. It is not material knowledge. Material knowledge is static, jad. Divine knowledge is sentient. So the more you keep churning it, the more newer truths keep emerging out of it. So it's not a one-time deal where we have gone through it. I know we have gone through the shloka, so it's about time to move on. It's like an ocean, and depending upon the size of our vessel, which keeps on increasing, hopefully as we continue to progress spiritually, more and more water we can draw out of it. And because it is sentient, the more you churn, more realization, more truths, more knowledge comes out of it. That is the beauty of divine scriptures. So I will continue on 3.39 today. Let me share my screen and we will get started with the opening prayers. Able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, I could make a. Now, are you still able to see my the opening prayers?
No, opening prayers you cannot see now. We can see only the first page of daily, that page.
Okay, got it. No, I just want to make sure you're not seeing anything. All right, great. Now you should be able to see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's get started. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, very warm welcome once again. So let's get started. If you've practiced it, feel confident enough, please go ahead. And we would really like to encourage new participants to take on reciting these shlokas because, like I said, it's very auspicious, and just by reciting it can have a transformative effect. But I would request you to try it out so that you have practiced it, feel confident, and you can go through it. This should not be your first time trying it directly on the session itself. That will really help. All right, so I'll recite it and then you are welcome to follow. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kanteya दुष्पूरेणानलेन च. All right.
Yes. Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे 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 नितिन जी.
Radhe Radhe.
आवृत्तम ज्ञान में तेन ज्ञानिनो नित्य वैरिणा काम रूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पुरेणानलेन च. राधे राधे.
Nice. Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe. Thank you very much.
Raghi Khurana ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
आवृतं ज्ञानमेतेन ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च.
Very nice. Thank you, Pravi ji.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe, Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Avritam jnanameteन ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च.
Very nice. Radhe Radhe. We'll take maybe 3 more hands.
Kamalesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Kamlesh ji. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I'm trying to unmute him. Okay. Sorry, I'm not able to unmute you. There is some issue in. Are you able? Can you?
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead, please. Kamlesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Avritam jnanameteन ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पुरेणानलेन च.
Very nice, Kamlesh ji. Radhe Radhe. Thank you very much. All right. We can maybe take 2 or 3 more.
Yes. Golab ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Avrutam jananatena janina nityaverana kamarupena kautiyo dushperana lena jo.
Thank you very much. Golab-ji. All right, we'll take 2 more and then we'll get started.
Yes, I give it to Meenakshi ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Meenakshi ji.
Radhe Radhe, Mataji. Radhe Radhe, Mataji. Avritam jnanametena ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च. Radhe Radhe.
Meenakshi ji. Radhe Radhe. We'll take 1 more and then we'll
Yes.
get started.
I'll give it to Sam ji this time, and then tomorrow I'll give to others chance.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Avritam jnanameteन ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Sam ji. I think we can take Rupa ji and Lakshmi ji. I saw a couple of other hands. So let's quickly take them. And
Okay then. Yes, let me give it to Shyam ji and then I'll give it to others.
Sure.
Shyam ji, Radhe Radhe.
I'll try to rush it through the presentation.
Sure. Go ahead, Shyam ji.
आवृतं ज्ञानमेतेन ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पुरेणानलेन च. राधे राधे.
Thank you. Very nice. Very fluent. Thank you. Let's take a couple of other hands that were it.
Yes, Lakshmi Prasanna ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Avritam jnanametena ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च.
Very nice. Thank you, Lakshmi ji. All right, last one.
Rupa ji, please go ahead, please.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Avritam jnanam etena ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पुरेण नलेन च.
Thank you very much, Rupaji. All right, we'll get started. Like I said, this scriptures, Bhagavad Gita knowledge, it is divine, it is not sentient, it is not insentient, it is called sentient knowledge. And the more we churn, the more we get out of it. Newer truths, newer realizations, newer knowledge will come out of it. And I can vouch from my own experience, when I studied it started reading it for the first time, it almost seemed like all the shlokas are pretty much saying the same thing. But as you go along, newer and newer realizations will keep coming out of it based on the vessel or the size of the vessel, spiritual vessel that we are having. And that is the beauty of these scriptures. So the more we churn, the better understanding or more depth we gain about these shlokas. So let's get started on this one. Avritam covered Jnanam knowledge, Etena by this, Jnanina of the wise, Nityavairina by the perpetual enemy, Kama Rupena in the form of desires, Kante Arjun the son of Kunti, Dushpurena, insatiable, Analena like fire, Cha and short translation. The knowledge of even the most discerning gets covered by this perpetual enemy, most discerning also, say, in the form of insatiable desire, which is never satisfied and burns like fire, O son of Kunti. All right, so let's get. So the inimical nature of calm or lust is what we've been discussing, right? This is the formidable enemy we are talking about, is being made even more explicit by Lord Krishna in this particular shloka. Now, the calm, it means desire. And I'll tell you a quick story around it. Are you still able to see my screen?
Yes, Nitinji, we can see.
Okay, great. So there's a story of Gemini. So there was once upon a time, there was the Vedvyas. He was conducting his Vedant class among his students. And in the course of the lecture, he was mentioning to the young brahmacharis that you need to be very careful of this enemy called lust. Okay, so if you mix with young women, this enemy can actually overpower you anytime. That is what he was telling. And with all their vigilance and circumspection, for all that, they might still fall victims because lust is very powerful. That is what Vedvyas was teaching them. However, one of his students, whose name was Gemini, and he's the author of Purvamimamsa, by the way, he was a little impertinent. He said, no, Guruji, what you're saying makes sense, but I feel very confident about my abilities that I'm an Akhanda Brahmachari and no lady can attract me. So Vyasdev said, okay, that is good. However, you still need to be careful. And he told him, I'm proceeding to Kashi tomorrow and I will return after 3 months. So you be careful and do not get puffed up with pride about your abilities. Now, when Vedvyas was gone, there was on one of the days, there was a beautiful girl, with piercing eyes and a very charming face. She was well dressed in a thin silken garment and she was standing under a tree on a sunset. And the clouds started gathering, it started raining like you see in Bollywood movies, right? So Gemini happened to pass along the route and he saw that girl and he felt pity for her, seeing her shiver in that rain. And he addressed her. He said, lady, you can come and stay in our ashram and I'll give you shelter.
Sorry to interrupt, Nitinji. I think a couple of people have messaged saying that your volume is low. But for me, it's actually clear, but I don't know, a couple of people have mentioned it's low.
Is it any better? Maybe there's an audio on your end. Can you hear me all right?
I mean, for me, to be honest, I can hear it really clear. And I see Shyamji also saying it's clear. So, but a couple of them had messaged, so I had to interrupt you.
Okay, so maybe you may want to check audio on your end, I think in that case, because if it is working for some, it has to work for all. Because I think the technology is my voice agnostic, it will not discriminate. So please check the audio on your side. I think it should be okay.
Yeah, but yeah, some of them have messages.
Okay. Is it working fine for them now?
They haven't messaged, but
All right. I think you need to check the audio on your side.
some of them have said it's good for them.
Okay. All right. If it is good for some, it has to be good for all. Sure. Okay. So like I said, so what happened is he's passing by this lady and he took pity on him and he said, you can come and stay in our ashram. I'll give you shelter. Now this lady said that, are you living alone? Because the females are not allowed in the ashram. So he said that I am alone, but I am a perfect Akhand Brahmachari. No, nothing can affect me. And I'm free for any kind of mental, modification. I feel pretty confident. He was very confident in his abilities about that. And you can come and stay here. Lady objected. He said it's not right for a young lady to, live with a brahmachari alone at night. So this guy says, no, damsel, don't be afraid. I promise you. And, I'm a perfect Akhand Brahmachari. So come over. And then because they could not stay in the same room, he said, you stay here and I will keep guard outside. I will stand out. No matter what happens, do not open the door throughout the night. And then once the rain subsides, you can move back again in the morning. So she agreed to stay there. And at the dead of the night, now Gemini's mind, it started playing tricks with him. And he started feeling the influence of desire. And then initially he was completely under control, but after a while he started knocking at the door and said, lady, there's a wind which is blowing outside and it's getting really cold. I need to come inside. Lady denied. She said, no, you ordered me not to open the door, and I will not do that. And he said, no, I promise you, it's getting difficult to stay, but then once the weather becomes better, I'll come out again. But she did not agree. So he became silent, but then the desire overcame him so much that, he climbed that hut and started making way on the roof, started taking the hay out. And finally he jumped in. And when he saw that lady, her back towards him, and he extended his arm and touched her. And then the girl turned and said, behold. And that girl, it turned into Vedvyas's guru. It was Vedvyas. Through his yogic powers, he had assumed this form. If you remember, we did the story of Saubari Muni in the past as well. So actually these, sages, they have the power, through the yogic power, to transform themselves. Putana, for that matter, she could convert herself, right? But his guru, he wanted to drive home the point. He came to his original form and said, my dear Gemini, what about the strength that you were so much of proud of? When I was lecturing you on this subject, you said, I have firm faith in my abilities. And then Gemini, he lowered his head in shame and said, Guruji, I'm wrong. Kindly pardon me. So the point here being, the desire that Lord Krishna is talking about, it's insatiable, as you can see in the picture, right? This guy is chasing this burger, but then that burger keeps on going away, further and further away. This is called insatiable. And anala means inexhaustible. It will never exhaust us. Any other work can exhaust us, but the desire is something which has been called as anala, which is inexhaustible, very clearly in the shloka. And it can overpower the discrimination power of wise and can actually lure them to fulfill it. Vishwamitra story, might have heard all of them as well, right? How even the people of that stature can actually fall down. That is how powerful this desire or lust is. And there's a reason for that. We saw it in one of our previous sessions. It is a perverted reflection of the highest that soul can get, divine love. So it's a perverted reflection. And because divine love is the most intense feeling, or the most, the topmost prize one can get in divine realm, its perverted images equally strong on the material side. Very, very strong. And that is what Lord Krishna is telling us in the shloka. And no matter how much you attempt to douse the, the fire of desire, it just keeps on burning, right? It's like adding fuel to fire. Even Buddha states in Dhamma that, he simply says that this can actually overpower even the most discerning brains. No matter how, forget about intellectual. Intellectual is actually in the material realm. Even in spirituality, they say, you get into sadhan bhakti, then bhav bhakti, then mahabhav bhakti. Even from mahabhav bhakti until you are, even if you are say 99.9% there, near to the other bank that you need to reach, and that bank means God realization, it can still bring you down. That is how powerful it has been stated. Let's move on. Now, lust and desire. It's a very powerful weapon of Maya. Now, Maya, if we remember, Maya is not Satan. Okay, like they talk about Satan in Western philosophy. There's no concept of Satan here. Now, Maya is a subservient to God, Dasi, or the Sevika of God. And it has enough tricks up its sleeve to test us, or to make us or chisel us until we are perfect. And one of the strongest weapon of Maya is desire. That desire, insatiable desire that we have. Okay, you have to reject that, and then only God. So God basically is like, okay, I'm going to take the best of the best. When you are able to reject everything that my Jad Shakti has to offer to you, and when you are firmly convinced that this is not what you need, and you are able to reject it with the power of discrimination, then I'm ready to meet you. Okay, and it is one of the most powerful weapon of Maya. Now, it's powerful. Now, Adam fell on account of one loose movement. Eve tempted him. We went through the story of Gemini as well, when Vedvyas tested him. And Eve also tempted him on the account of one desire, and that forbidden fruit begins to ripen, like proverbial forbidden fruit. It begins to ripen before the human eye in no time. And we keep falling to that forbidden fruit time and again, cycle after cycle, and it just continues. And even one single unguarded movement is sufficient to capsize the whole casket of pearls down into the dark abyss of passion and lust. Okay, now when we say capsize the whole casket of pearls is actually an analogy for all the spiritual wealth or merit that we have acquired. Okay, it might have taken us years and years, lifetime after lifetime, to keep on accumulating those pearls. But that entire casket can actually be emptied just in one single unguarded moment. That is how powerful lust is, desire is. Now, moving on. Now, how do we overcome it? Because it's so powerful that it's almost like we feel helpless in front of it, right? Annapurna, is there any question? You wanted to take a screenshot, I guess.
Annapurna ji, did you want to take a screenshot? You can unmute yourself. I'm not able to unmute her.
Okay, let's continue. Annapurna ji, if you can try to unmute yourself, and you can announce yourself once you're back. And I'm not able to unmute her. So when we have become, what is the way out of it then? The way out of it is, our scriptures tell us that only when we have become fully pure devotee, that too with the mercy of Lord, Maya goes away. Okay, we'll look at this example around it. It's not something we can beat on our own effort alone, right? If we think that I'm going to go out and beat Maya on my self-effort alone, that is as good as saying I'm going to go out and defeat God, because it is God's energy, although it is his Jad Shakti, sentient or inferior energy, it is called. But God's inferior energy is also more than a handful for us, okay, for a Jivatma. We cannot beat God's energy. Defeating God's energy is as good as defeating God. Not possible. It can only happen with the mercy of God. And mercy of God, again, going back to the same concept, how do we draw mercy of God? His general mercy is available to all, but how do we draw his special grace? We will discuss tomorrow on this concept, because I think Anish brought this question up previously. But the point here is, only when we are fully pure, we are situated in pure knowledge of a devotee, then only Maya will release its clutches on us. Otherwise, we will keep on getting like a tongue can hold something. That is how Maya holds us as well. And only it will release its clutches on us only when we have become pure. That is the rule of Maya. Now let's move on. Now, unless we reach that stage and draw his grace, we need to be guarded of our surroundings and got to be very careful. We have looked at two stories. No, one story, Jaimini story, how powerful desire can be. Even an Akhand Brahmachari who is situated in knowledge, right, who has actually written Mimamsa and was one of the foremost disciples of Ved Vyas, he failed that test. Vishwamitra failed that test. So the mortals like us who have not really developed that spiritual resilience, work in progress, we got to be really careful about this strong emotion called desire and lust. Because one unguarded movement can empty that cascade of pearls that we were talking about, right? Cascade of pearls is like all the spiritual merit that we have worked hard towards can actually be emptied in no time. That is how powerful this emotion is. And it's easy for us to fall to that. Now let's look at it when a kid is there. Chocolate will fulfill that kid's desire. That's more than enough usually. Candy or a chocolate, right? They will jump and dance and grab chocolates with both hands and they'll be happy. So when they do a lot of tantrums, it might be something else. But the point here is usually their sphere of desire is limited. That bubble we have of our desire, it is limited, and that can be satiated, not satiated, but temporarily satiated, I would say, by limited objects. But let's say the kid becomes a toddler now. Chocolate alone may not suffice. Okay, as you can see, now the video games have come into picture, right? Desire has taken another form, bigger, better than what they previously would get satisfied with, at least temporarily. Now further, you get into teenage, you're past 18, and now probably car will satiate, you have bigger desire to get a car and go out on the road on your own once you get a license. The point here being, this desire is something, as we can see the symptoms, even if you look at our own lives, the kind of toys we would play with and were happy with when we were kids, those toys kept on shifting. When we grew up, there were some games or newer things that fascinated or captivated our attention. As we grew up even more, we required even bigger things, better things to satiate that desire. And as we continue to live, those desires have not really been, that thirst for that desire has really still not quenched. It could be the next vacation or the bigger car or a better house. That just continues, right? The toys keep changing, but the desire remains as it used to be. Right? We say only if we have that or if we do that, that will never get quenched. That's what our scriptures are telling us. Unless, of course, you get a better toy. See, the human psychology goes like this. You are willing to give up something because we are deriving certain amount of kick, dopamine kick or pleasure or some kind of a joy out of it. And we are willing to forfeit that joy, not as a matter of austerity, but we are willing to forfeit that joy if we can get a better joy somewhere else. Right? It needs to be substituted with something better. Once we get a better joy, a better bliss, or better feel, then we don't mind giving up the previous one. For example, the toys we played with when we were as kids, we used to draw immense bliss out of those. But not anymore. Why? Because we found newer toys. And even now we have toys that we continue to play with in our minds in form of the next house, the vacation, the car, the next movie, or whatever we create in our heads. So our scriptures tell us that you have to dovetail it. The only way to beat this is to dovetail your mind towards God and get that even the lesh matra, even the trace of that bliss will give you a feeling that, hey, what I was looking for, now I'm kind of feeling that, okay? That is how powerful it is. But unless we substitute it with a higher desire, it will not go away. You will keep on desiring material things, and this game is a never-ending game, endless games. So we need to give it something better, but that something better is not something that comes, like an instant gratification that we usually get from things from this world. That is a little bit of effort is needed to begin with, but once you start tasting it, that's when the lower starts falling away by itself when you start aiming for the higher. But that aiming for the higher takes a bit of an effort and an intellectual conviction to start making progress or start taking steps towards that. And that is the whole path of devotion or spirituality. Only when you get a better bliss, a better sense of satisfaction, a sense of peace within, then you will say, no, whatever I was seeking for until I never got that feeling before. And then it will reinforce the faith and will give us, incentivize us further to take the next step and the next step and the next step, and that's how this journey continues. So scripture is telling us it's not something that we can continue investing in and hope that one day we'll be happy. It's just an illusion our mind has created. It will never happen unless you start dovetailing it in the proper direction. Because giving up bliss, we don't have a choice there. Being a part of God, being the part of the ocean of bliss, bliss is something we will seek no matter what. Like we have spoken about this concept, right? When it comes to whether we have a choice to seek bliss or not to seek bliss, we don't have a choice. Now, which direction to seek bliss, we do have a choice. Okay? And that direction needs to be rectified is what spirituality is all about. Let's move on and go a little further. Look at it a little analytically, okay, through a graph. So our bars of getting tempted, they keep on rising as we grow up in the material world. We saw it through the example from a kid to a teenager to a teenager. So this graph looks like this. It just keeps on increasing. Have our desire actually diminished? No, they haven't. Through our experience, we see that they just keep on increasing and increasing. Like if you ask me personally, like I say, if somebody would have told me that when I was in school or in college, that you know what, 10 to 15 years down the line, this is what you will be doing, this much money you would have made, this would be your professional designation, this kind of a house, place you'll be living in. I said, are you kidding me? Okay, if that happens, I'll happily retire. But then, as I reached that, I conveniently shifted my goalposts, right? At least in the mind. Now it's a different matter trying to reverse practice it to become content in life. That's what Buddha said, right? In scripture say the richest person is not who has most of the things in this world. The richest person is who has the most contentment. So the point here being the desires, they are insatiable. They keep on increasing. It's like putting fuel to fire. We hope that it's a liquid which is going to extinguish it, but actually when you put fuel to fire, the fire actually gets more intensified, and that is how desires are. So if you look at it from a graphical standpoint, the temptation, they keep on rising throughout the life. And then as scriptures tell us, but when you start growing more and more spiritually, the mic temptations or the toys that fascinate or captivate our imagination, their influence or the clutches or the vice-like grip they exert on us starts loosening as you start growing spiritually. It is a natural consequence of it. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you would have experienced it in your life as well. As you start gaining more and more spiritual, you start getting drawn more and more towards spirituality. It starts giving you a sense of calm, peace, and contentment. And the previous restlessness or the agitation that the material objects or influences will create, it starts settling down a little bit, relatively. I'm sure a lot of you would have experienced that. And our scriptures are telling us exactly that. The only way to reverse this graph, which keeps on intensifying with time and age, is to grow spiritually. and feel that bliss, that peace, that joy that we have, our soul itself will give you the testimony that now I'm getting what, now you have given me something that is truly clicking with me. It will give you that proof. That is how powerful it is, right? In Narad Bhakti Darshan, Naradji says that the praman of spiritual progress or bhakti is like salt in food. It will automatically give you its proof. You don't have to seek it from somebody else. Your inner self will tell you now something is become, something is clicking, but which was previously not clicking. That is how powerful it is. And until we are not fully God realized, we can never say we have conquered Maya. Like I said, even if you are, let's say, you are going from one side of the bank to another side of the bank in a river, and you have reached 99% of that side, right? Still one big current can come and take you back into the middle of the river and possibly on the other side as well. So it's not done until it is done. There's a saying in English, right? It's not done until it's done. It's exactly the same. Even if we are in Mahabhav Bhakti, and let's say we are 99.9% there, still we got to be cautious because these Maya and the tools and the weapons that Maya has can actually result in a downfall unless of course we are very, very, very cautious about it. And that caution would come from, not from arrogance or pride, like that disciple of Ved Vyas had, the story that we went through, that humility of knowing that we are still dependent upon crutches and that crutches is God's grace would come from perfect knowledge. When your intellect is firmly convinced that my journey is still not complete, I still need God's grace to complete it, and there's no reason for me to feel proud about, even though I have reached such a higher stage, that humility has to go hand in hand, and that is the only thing that will enable us to complete that journey. Because conquering Maya, it's not done until it's done. And through pure devotion, with God's mercy, we will go through the rule of drawing God's mercy tomorrow, the 6 principles of surrender tomorrow. That is when the Maya will release its grip on us. It will go away because its job is done when we are fully surrendered. And surrender is not a one-time act. It is a repetitive act that we have to practice, and it becomes who we are. That's when Maya releases us completely, and it will test us to the last hill. See, it's like those movie ghosts you would have seen. You're seeing a movie and you say the ghost is gone, and then another ghost will come, and then you think now it's gone again, and another one will come. So it's like that. It keeps testing us until it says the end. So we got to be very careful about this, one of the most potent weapons of Maya, which is called lust and desire. Buddhism also said, right, there is misery in this world. There's a cause for misery. The cause for misery is desire. You finish desire and you kill misery. In Bhakti, we say, all right, all 3 are fine, but the 4th one, we will not say you kill desire. You dovetail desire. So in Bhakti, we say that don't apply sudden brakes to the bicycle. Just change its direction. Okay? When you apply sudden brakes to the bicycle, you'll become imbalanced. You may fall down. So rather than killing desire, let's channelize this emotion to our own benefit by putting it in a direction which is beneficial for us. And that is the beauty of the path of devotion. So let's move on. As you can see, okay, you can see, but probably you cannot hear. I want to make sure you hear as well. So give me a sec. Sorry about that. I'll share it again. Okay. So as you can see, the fire, right? The fire is burning. Desire is said that this is like this unquenchable fire which will never bring happiness to anyone. The wise will renounce it, knowing it to be the root of misery. That is what our scriptures say. And those who do not understand the secret, what's called as the secret or the mantra, they waste away their life in the futile pursuit of trying to satiate their lust. Like there are a lot of, there's a philosophy, or not philosophy, I would say, a lot of people would have a mindset, all right, that is fine. This knowledge is all good, but let me first experience it and then I'll believe it. Okay, so that is also a way, even though it may not be a smart way of approaching it. But then if we want to experience everything, to learn everything, then one lifetime is not enough. And I think we have been experimenting far too long now to take the other route of reposing faith in our scriptures and what saints are saying. So they say this futile exercise of continue to pursue the desire, it continues because we are intellectually not convinced. That small honey that is falling down from whatever little joy we get from satiating these desires, even though temporarily, that itself keeps us moving to keep chasing for them, because there's no plan B, right? There's no other thrill in life. And you say now you're asking me to give up these little thrills as well? Come on, are you kidding me? Because it takes a bit of an effort, right, to put your effort towards the other path in which the results are not immediate. It takes a little bit of exertion to begin with before results start coming in. And we do not have intellectual conviction or the perseverance or the tenacity or the discipline that is needed to actually taste that. And God says, okay, you take your time until you start making it a priority. My Maya servant will keep making you dance to her tune. So that's essentially what this shloka is telling us as well. Now, which of the two is stronger? We couldn't cover it in the last session, but we can have a quick reflection on this one. As you can see, on one hand, you have a mesh of silk, and on the other hand, you have a chain of gold. Right? So mesh of silk is warm and fuzzy, gives you a good feel. And chain of gold can be, even though it is gold, but it can give you a treatment, right? It's like a cold treatment when it rubs against your body, and it looks more solid. However, let's look at it. Now, chain of gold can be cut asunder, but not the silken meshes of Maya. So the meshes of Maya are silken. They look comfortable. They look something that we find a lot of comfort in. But then those mesh of the silk meshes of Maya, you cannot cut those. They are kind of unbreakable unless, of course, we surrender. And as we discussed earlier, this casket of pearls is nothing but our spiritual acquisitions. All the small steps that we take towards our inner growth, they are like pearls in this casket, right? If we have, let's say, gotten better at anger, gotten better at giving up, forgiving people, gotten better at letting go of things, gotten better at not finding faults in others, gotten better at productively utilizing our time for, with thoughts that are beneficial for our mind, gotten better at not gossiping and talking about people around and finding faults in them. So all the small victories that we might have accumulated, right, they can actually be emptied in one shot because of desire. That is how powerful it is. Right? Like the dark abyss you see, it can go into a dark abyss and it will not get, it can empty in a flash of a moment. And lust and greed, like I said, they can capsize this at any point. Even if we have progressed really higher in our spiritual journey, after putting in a lot of effort, discipline, it can still bring us down. That is how powerful. So this was a quick concept. Now let's move on. Quick discussion we can have. Then I have a topic here as well. So topic for discussion is in the next slide. This one is probably a quick discussion. So what is the price we must pay for chasing desires? Okay, that is my question. And whether it is like a wild goose chase. Anybody who wants to add a quick thoughts on what we have discussed or on this before we move to the next slide? That slide is very important. In fact, when I heard Maharajji's lecture on that one, it was an eye opener for me. Looking at the right perspective of what is this enjoyment that we are deriving from our desire. It is a very, very powerful analogy. Okay, so I'll bring it up in our next screen. It's a little, it hits you hard when you see it. But let's first hear on this a little bit before we move forward. Yes,
Nitinji, there is a question in the chat. We need to use discrimination to overcome desires, right? But how much can we trust our discrimination? Sometimes we feel it's correct decision for our situation, but the decision may be correct later.
Yeah, it's a very valid, relevant question. I think it might be a good question for Swamiji, but whatever little I understand, I can try to give a little bit of a commentary on that. At least my little understanding around it. Now, the knowledge that gets activated in our intellect, right, which helps us make decisions, right? Intellect is the one which makes decisions. Now, that knowledge, it can have only two sources, right? One is the knowledge that has happened to us through the world or through our own experience or through what we have understood or, through looking at life around and what people say. Or the other knowledge is where we have solidified our intellect through knowledge coming in from scriptures, through our guru, and something that we might have realized as well as part of our practice. Now, if that decision is coming from that, maybe it's a bit subjective question depending upon, then I think even if we go wrong, maybe in short term, it may look like something wrong has happened because it is something more of a principle driven, more than opinion driven kind of a knowledge. Principle is universal, right? Spoke about the difference between principle and opinion. Then your odds of success are high because that's the best you can do. You have confirmed to the knowledge that is coming in from scriptures for a particular situation, circumstance. Then our odds of success are much higher. But like you said, it's pretty contextual. In a lot of situations, we don't even know what is our best thing to do. Then Swamiji beautifully gives us a very simple nugget around that. He says, if you're not able to understand in a given situation what is the best thing to do, just approach it with purity of intention. Right? That's the best you can do. Purity of intention. Why am I doing it? Is it something for my self-interest? Is it for the larger good? Am I keeping others' interest in mind? Or am I looking at the bigger picture? And just approach it with a purity of intention. That is our insurance policy in these kind of situations. Hopefully, it helped you a little bit at least.
She says thank you. Ramyaji says thank you. Yeah, Samji, you can unmute yourself. Please go ahead.
Radhe. What the price we pay for chasing desires, like as you guided us and Swamiji and everybody is doing it. The nutshell is that we are paying it like we are going in the birth and death circles and all those things, 8.4 million. It's a never-ending thing. Desire is, as you said, is even bigger than God for the purpose of discussion.
Yes.
That's a never-ending thing. It is like a wild goose chase. Goose is running around and no matter how much way, the goose has a capability of going left and right so frequently that we don't have the capability of following it on the way. So right. It's a never-ending thing, kind of thing. Only with the discrimination, as you said, and with the God's grace and Guru's kripa, we probably have some kind of discrimination with the knowledge. Only then we can, to some extent, we can cut down this avidya. Avidya we can cut in case we have the capability of doing anything. Maybe with avidya can be taken care of that one. But the vidya, the real knowledge that can come from the Guru and the scriptures. Only then we can cut down the vidya part. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Beautiful point, Samji. Very true. And now I'll tell you the price that we pay for these desires. Okay, actually, what are these desires and what is the bliss or the kick that we get out of it? I'll show you that. I can see one more hand, Pallaviji.
Go ahead, Pallaviji. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe Nitinji. Radhe Radhe everyone. So to answer the question that what is the price that we are paying? We are paying huge price. We are losing our current time, which is the precious human birth. And we are not only losing our human birth, we are endangering our future also. Because we don't know that when we will get the human birth. Mm-hmm. To even in chasing the desire, we are forgetting that what is our real purpose. And that's how we are losing We are paying huge price for that.
Very true. Great point. Yes, it's an opportunity cost actually, to be honest. Yes, beautifully summed up. Pallaviji, now I'm going to show you next screen, and Padmaji, Sunitji, hold on to your thoughts because I think you'll have much more color to add once you look at the next screen around it. And thank you, Pallaviji, for your inputs. And by the way, happy birthday to you. Warm wishes from all of us on your birthday, and we look forward to hearing more and more from you. All right, so let me show you another screen for this. Now look at this. It's kind of a good example, but then that is essentially what it means. Okay, and I'll tell you what it means. Now, the advancement of material civilization purely on the basis of sense gratification, it means we are increasing our duration of material existence. Number one, okay, that is the price we are paying. The second one is that lust is a symbol of ignorance, and for as long as we are in this ignorance, we'll be kept in material world. Okay, you can take it basically. It's like self-imposed affliction. Unless we come out of it, we will continue to be, what do you call that, in this material jail, basically. Son-in-law of God, okay, in this material jail. Now, for as long as we continue to enjoy this, there is a feeling of happiness, of course, we get that. Like you can see this dog enjoying that bone, right? This is the ultimate enemy of our sense enjoyer. Now, I'll tell you, basically, Maharaji actually explained it very nicely in this lecture. While we continue to enjoy this world, right, sense gratification and all that stuff, you know, what is happening actually in this phenomena? When a dog goes through starts nibbling or chewing the bone, after a point, its own gums, they start bleeding. And it starts enjoying its own blood. It thinks that taste is coming out from the bone. That is what material desires do to us. We are actually not only making, digging a pit for ourselves because our sanskars are deepening, that there is happiness in this world. In the pursuit of desires, we accrue a lot of backlog of karma. And then if the lust or the desire becomes too strong, we don't even refrain from committing a sin. All those, basically, we are actually trying to enjoy it at our own expense. So this example hit me very hard when I heard it for the first time, right? This dog is thinking all that juice is coming from the bone, but it's actually its own juice. All right, now let's continue with the discussion and get some thoughts. If there's some announcements, Amrita Vaniji may want to make those, and then I think let's build on this concept and conclude our discussion then.
Okay, Nitinji, yes, we do have few announcements.
Tracker, please post that and do fill it out, please, and then
yes,
we'll continue our discussion.
The attendance tracker has been posted, so please take a moment to fill that. And anyone who is interested to do any kind of volunteering, please let us know in the feedback section. And we do have a few events coming up. One is the Sanskriti. So please do see that. We do have many competitions in that for all ages. So please do register for that. I will post the link once I tell about all the events. And then we have Lori celebrations coming up. That is on the 13th of January. And Jagat Gurutam Divas on 14th of January. It's an online session as well as in-person program. So please do register for that. And 15th, we do have Goda Kalyanam. That is also virtual and in-person. Nitinji, I'll just call it.
So a couple of things in the attendance tracker, do fill it out if you are inspired to do some seva. Could be a small thing, don't think it will take a lot of time commitment. So do fill it out, and I'll engage you or somebody will reach out to you. And secondly, if you want to present your experience or something, please write it down. I'm always looking for participants who have, want to share how they felt inspired or what has changed their lives. It goes a long way in inspiring others as well, right? So that's also kind of a seva. Do write it, and we'll basically have you present on one of the sessions as well. And do fill out the attendance tracker. Now let's get to the discussion. And now, because we have Jagat Gurutam Divas coming up, on Thursday we will do a special session on, who's the Guru, why do we need a spiritual mentor, and talk a little bit about Kripaliji Maharaj as well. So that session. So do attend. The remaining sessions will expound on this topic of Guru and what is guru and qualifications and everything, anything and everything related to that. Okay, let's get our discussion going then. Thank you, Mr.
Padmaji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. There are two things that I see with that question and overall what we talked about. See, when we think about this external chasing process is an external process. The more that we are chasing this external thing, it disconnects you and doesn't give you a pathway to connect with yourself from within. So as much as you're chasing whatever that is, and many things that we chase after, we go after, right? As much as we are chasing these external things, it will not give you or even a point of intersection where you can penetrate through yourself. That is one thing that I see for myself. And also, even if you have struggled to penetrate to yourself and you're trying to connect with your soul and you're trying to connect with everything, because everything spirituality, anything that you want to say, bhakti or devotion or whatever, I see it coming from inside. It has to come from inside. The desire of wanting to sit in satsang, the desire of wanting to sit in Bhagavad Gita, it is something which is internal. So
Anand, we lost your voice. Started breaking up.
As much as
Your voice is still, your audio it's breaking, Padmaji.
Padmaji, there's a lot of lag in your voice.
You'll have to fix it.
No, I've unmuted her, but still I have some distance.
Let's hear from you have to mute.
I have, she's on unmute, but still.
Mute her so that we can move forward. I think there's a lot of disturbance. Like we just
how is it right now?
Now it's better.
Is it better? I think.
Yeah, now it's better. Okay, I think let's move on. Sunit, we can hear from you, and while Padmaji is back.
Go ahead, Sunitji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Like Nitin, you are telling about this desire. Like I am not chasing any desire, but I just want to share the experience that happened with me on Saturday. Like we are on the groups, and I was in other group, one of the group, and the lady from that group, she added me in a group that is ladies biker of Gurgaon. So I was not chasing that desire. I was not desiring that. But I tell you, when I was in college, that always fascinated me. So like you said, this desire. So I question myself, Sunit, now you are not looking for this, something like this. So, but still your name is in this list. Then I answered myself, it means I am in this spirituality. God is helping me that, Sunit, that was your desire, what was your in college time, what you are thinking. So God is fulfilling that. So can't we, so these things go parallelly, like spirituality and like, this is, I was not chasing it. That was out of my sight, out of my mind. But still that lady entered my name in there, but because of this weather condition on Saturday, Sunday, I was not able to go there. So what is this?
I don't know, Sunitji, I mean, could be the other way around as well. Like they say, God and Guru, they confront our secret stash, right? So that stash is there somewhere inside, and then they will confront it, bring it to the fore. So one way of it is that, yes, God wants you to exhaust your desire that you always had. Other way of looking at it, now he's giving you a carrot. Okay. Are you going to look at that? Because God has its way of testing us as well, right? So let's say, for example, as we start in progressing in spirituality, then God will test us with all the tools of Maya. And Maya's testing, you can imagine, right? The bhakti aspect itself can corrupt us. So let's say somebody gives us unlimited amount of power, unlimited amount of money here, right? We hit a jackpot somewhere, or unlimited amount of fame where people are drooling over you, clicking photos and saying you need your signatures and you have power, you have money. Maya's testing, we can't even imagine. So if you don't have proper knowledge, right? Where we know that, okay, this is all temporary. I know, God, you might be testing me. There is a beautiful song in that Krishna, Ramanand Sagar, not Ramanand Sagar, I think he has created Jai Krishna, and that a woman comes and, offers fruit to Krishna buys fruit from her and then put some jewels back in his basket. So basically the song was that सोच समझ के सौदा कीजिए नंद का लाल बड़ा व्यापारी. So God is a big businessman. He's going to test you till the last moment. That, okay, will you stop here? Will you stop here? Will you stop here? And when you say, no, I will not stop, I'll reject everything and all I need is you, then he'll meet us. So Maya's testing can take any form, right? See, one part aspect of Maya is obviously troubles us, right? It gives us material reversals in our life. The other aspect of it is the bhakti aspect of it, where it can start testing you by giving you so many things. Even in yogic path, there are siddhis. People, their path stopped just because now they were doing meditation and now they have the ability to start reading people's minds, start seeing the future, all that stuff. Those yogic siddhis again limit you. Okay, you cannot progress further. But how can you beat that? Only when you have a proper knowledge and you have that spiritual strength through God's grace to actually be able to digest it, reject it, and keep moving forward. Otherwise, ordinary people will fall flat with even small things in life. Right? So they say money, power, and fame, they can corrupt anybody. And it's actually God's mercy if we have a simple life where you're working hard to, doing all that stuff, because these things can really derail our journey. We don't even know what can happen. So there are so many things. Secret stash, so again, really depends on how we want to look at it. But our desires are hidden desires. We don't know when God can test us. All right, now let's see. Desire is more important for you or I am, right? You want to go for a bike ride or you want to spend some time on satsang? I don't know. That could be a scenario as well. Okay, let's hear Padmaji if you're back. Sorry, we couldn't hear you, but what I heard was the bliss that we are seeking is within. It's taking us further and further away. It's like that kasturi mrig, right? That sugandhi or that aroma is coming from its own body, but it keeps searching for it throughout. That's where it is. So is there anything you wanted to add on top of that or any other hands in that case? No?
I've unmuted her. Padmaji, we cannot hear you, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was. Everything which is happening, is it something is wrong? Okay, never mind. I'll put it in the portal, Nitin.
Sure, Padmaji.
Maybe you can turn off your camera and talk, maybe.
Yeah, it's breaking really badly.
Is it better right now?
Better now.
Better. So probably it was the video. So what if we really pay attention to, right, these external things, that the more we chase after these external things, we will see where we are able to see, at least, when you're in the spiritual path, you will see that the more you're chasing for external things, the internal thing is actually going away and you're not able to connect with yourself. That disconnect itself is giving you a reminder that you're not able to connect well. That is number one thing. And many times in situations we say I'm losing a piece of myself, I'm losing a piece of myself. What we're literally saying is we're losing a piece of our spiritual piece, right? Whatever the spiritual assets or the spiritual pieces that we have, and then our inner consciousness is telling you that you're losing a piece of yourself. That is our warning signs to recognize what are those situations or people or circumstances which is taking you away from where you want to be. That is number two. And number three is, as you were saying, Nitinji, the most difficult situations, God will test you by the most attached thing. Like if you're a parent, he will constantly present you with situation where you're attached with your kids, right? You need to attach with your parents. Those situations will constantly come back. That is our reminder from him to say, okay, this is where you need to work on. So those are the three things that I wanted to say. Radhe Radhe.
Very true, very true. That is true. So our secret stash, even we don't know. That is where the guru's job comes into picture, right? Guru knows exactly where we are stuck, and he will remove that impediment from your life, right? When you render service or when you approach it with a submissive spirit and when you act in accordance with the instructions, that is the job of Guru. So he will know exactly what is stopping us at this particular point. And different people, they have different trajectories, right? It will not the same message for everybody. So if you especially have guru or spiritual mentor, you would understand, at least I have experienced it with Swamiji, at different stages of life, he has different messages for you. And for different people, again, he has different messages because they will know exactly where you're getting stuck. It's not the same message for everyone. You do this, you do that. No, it will be always a tailored custom message based on the situation that you are in and based on where you are getting stuck. And that is the role of a guru, to remove that impediment so that you take the next step. And then the instruction would change and you take the next step. And then that is how you keep on progressing. And that is where the role of a spiritual mentor is very important, because we don't have a self-awareness. We don't even know what our secret stash is. We don't even know how to systematically dismantle this dirty, not dismantle or cleanse this dirty mind that we have, from, this is not a mind of one lifetime. This is a mind of eternal lifetimes that we have. And that is where the role of guru comes into picture, and which is underplayed in a lot of ways. And we are going to talk about this topic more on Wednesday and Thursday. It's a very, very important topic. And and then I think this topic we'll continue to discuss this, because there are some more facets I want to introduce about this. Anybody else who wants to add to the conversation, or are we on time?
We do a couple of questions. I mean, actually, one question. Are there good desires and bad desires, or are all desires bad except desire for God?
To put it simply, if we go by brutally honest, as per scriptures, there are only two areas, okay? World and God. So they say that any desire that takes you away from God is a bad desire, to put it simply. However, for ordinary people like us, we have to follow a process, right? First, let's uplift our desires from lowly desires for things, mundane things. Let's at least get it to ideas, right? People talk about people, their desires are just, related to objects. So let's take the next step, think about ideas, experiences, and move further. But the beauty of this path of devotion is that when you start attaching your mind to God, you don't even have to put in effort to reduce those, right? Those will start falling away all by themselves, right? Like Swamiji says, this quotation, I really love it. When you aim for the highest, the lowest starts falling away all by itself. You don't even have to put effort to reject it. So something that is very interesting for you, it's like, okay, how can I give up this desire? It will fall away all by itself, because when you start aiming for the higher, you'll start losing interest in it. It will happen, trust me. Anartha nivritti will start happening all by itself, because God is waiting for you to take that first step. And it's not boring. People think, right, these people spiritually do kirtan, go to satsang. How boring. Why can't they enjoy life? Have you seen from your experience, have you truly enjoyed life? There's no enjoy life. You can feel the bliss and the joy by actually aligning yourself to spirituality and to God. And then you will understand what you were missing previously, which you thought was much more fun. It probably was never fun to begin with. All right.
Yeah. And Ramya ji says, it suddenly took me by shock, dog chewing on its own blood, eye-opening. Need.
Yes, it is eye-opening. It was eye-opening for me as well.
Be really careful around our desires.
Yes, when I heard Maharajji's lecture on it, I was thinking for such a long time, what kind of an example was that? Very hard-hitting, to the point, precise. That is what material enjoyment that we are doing, actually at our own expense, and think we are enjoying. So next time you think about it, always bring that example to your mind. This concept will be pakka in your head.
Yeah,
okay.
That's it.
Any other questions? Anything? I know we are over time, so Amita,
no questions in the chat as such, so no hands raised also. So yeah.
Shyamji, you look very serious today. Is there anything we can help you with?
Radhe, Radhe. No, just I'm thinking, do we ever become pure? I do not know.
Yes. See, if one person can do it, rest can do it as well. So Vivekananda said that, right? Actually, if one can do it, everybody can do it. And we have enough examples. People have actually attained that purity. It may seem like a far-fetched goal, right? For example, if Ovis says, okay, can this mountain be climbed? But people have climbed it. If one can climb, others can do that as well. But there is a process to be followed. And it can happen. It will happen.
God does show His grace on us. Usme I have no doubt, because in the personal life, it's been 10 years. I have no dearth of grace of God. That's for sure. But on my part, I still lack sometime the pureness. I don't know. Maybe it might come, as you said, with the passage of time. It will come. And it has to come.
It will come. It has to come. There is no plan B actually, or plan C for that matter, right? And it has to come. So grace is there always, but we need a special grace. Now we want to really make a difference to our journey. Grace will be there regardless, right? He's not going to be, okay, let me wield a stick on you all the time. He'll still make, he'll be a mixed bag of good things, bad things in regular life as well, whether you believe in God, not believe in God. So that will be there. But then spirituality talks about how do we attract His special grace so that now we start making a difference in our life. Bahu Janmanante, God is saying it doesn't take one lifetime. It takes multiple lifetimes for us to get intellectually convinced that no, it's about time I need to do something. So whenever we get the inspiration, as when we are born as a human, or we get the inspiration, we get the knowledge, we get a guru, we have the spark, we have favorable circumstances, make the most of it. Because so many factors converging all at once is a providence. It cannot just happen just like that. Right? So then we should try to make the most of it. That's what you're saying. And yes, we will become pure, Shyamji. In next 6 years, okay? Money back guarantee. Okay. All right. I think we can
closing prayers.
Closing prayers for the day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll go through the surrender and maybe a few other concepts as well. And for Guru topic, we will discuss more detail for the rest of the week. And with Bhagavad Gita shlokas, of course. All right. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful evening. Great rest of your day. And please do fill out the attendance tracker if not already. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you, Nitinji, for the wonderful session. Thank you, everyone. Pallaviji, once again, happy birthday from us to you.
Yes, thank you. Happy birthday. Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Pallaviji, do you want to say?
Yeah, thank you, Amritwani ji. Thank you, Nitinji. Thank you, everyone. You guys made my day. Every day, coming to this session and listening to the class is the best part of my day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Sunilji, I see your hand raised. Do you have?
Yeah, one request, ma'am. Actually, I was I got a little late in joining today morning. I love these classes. Is there any recording I can basically see for today's class?
Recordings are not available, but you can join the interactive WhatsApp group or the community portal. I think there we do have, about people do discuss, participants do discuss what all has happened every day. Okay. Probably you can do that. So yes, if you are in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, which group? Because I'm in lot of other WhatsApp group which give me the intimation of course this timing and all the things.
Yes, in that itself, if you just scroll down, in that also, in that we do have the link for the community portal and all.
Actually, I got this community portal for that CIC WhatsApp interactive group, but I'm not able to join because that group is full.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks for letting us know. Please do let us know so that we can, Okay. Yeah. Okay, then I'll see. I will let you know tomorrow. Sorry, because since I have need little info, I'll just find out from people, and tomorrow I'll let you know.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sure.
No
Thank you so
Sorry,
much.
I'm not able to help you right now.
No. It's fine. This is good enough. I was trying to get in with other people also, but see if you can please. I can join and then I can see these things.
Definitely. Tomorrow I will surely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Bye. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you. Ramya ji, I see your hand raised.
Thanks, Amrutamanji. I'll really make it quick. Actually, can you add me also to the interactive WhatsApp group, please? I'm having a WhatsApp group where the timing notification is coming, but it's not interactive. I think only the host has the rights to chat. If
I
there's
will
an
let them know.
interactive WhatsApp, can you please add me also?
Sure, definitely. I will let them know. Thank you so much. I will let them know.
Yeah. Please add me also because I have no idea about that group, which group it is. And one more thing is, I joined from my laptop also today, but Nitinji's voice was still low. I could hear everybody else clearly loud. Only Nitinji's volume was a bit low. Maybe the mic was far or something. I didn't know. I just wanted to let you know. I had to like put my ears really close to speaker, then I could hear. But I tried from two devices. I tried from my phone and then I tried from my laptop, but both it was same. In between it was high, but again towards the end it started going a bit low.
Okay, but yeah, even there was one more participant who had messaged me saying that her volume was low, Nitinji's volume was low, but I could hear it real. Maybe and there were participants who messaged again saying it is clear for them.
Yeah, it went high, but towards the end again it went really low. I think it happened only today. Every day it was fine. So I just wanted to let you know.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Amrutavati. Thank you very much. One more thing I wanted to ask. Sorry. That you said that there are some volunteering opportunity, right? I stay in India, in Bangalore. Any virtually, is there anything that I could volunteer?
Any kind of thing. Like for example, let it be if you are interesting to it, if you have some kind of if you can do flyers for many events that coming up, you can do for that. Any small thing, any 5 minute or whichever per day, whichever you can put it in the attendance tracker feedback form. You have the right section there. You can just put if you are interested. So they will get back to you.
Okay, I've just in the attendance form I've added that to consider me for Seva. I'll just see if anything I can do and if that is needed from
definitely.
Thanks a lot.
Yes. Yeah. You I think I don't know if I have your number, but yes, if you can tomorrow, if you can give me a number, I will ask Kritiji to get back to you.
I'll ping you on chat right now.
Sure, please.
Okay, thanks a lot. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Aarti ji. Radhe Aarti ji.
Radhe, Hari Om. Good morning to you, Amrita ji. Even I would like to say, as what Ramya ji said, even in the end, volume literally got very low. I don't know, was it in the device or the network issue, but literally in the end, even I tried to change my speaker and also tried in headphones, but the volume of Nitin ji's was very, very low.
Oh, okay. I am so sorry. Thank you for letting us knowing. I will, tomorrow if this thing happens, we will let him know. But to be very honest, I could hear it clear, and there are few participants who said it was clear, so that's why. But yes, we will see to it.
No, I have observed it that around networks, like in India, something is down with the network because there is lagging.
Okay.
With the network.
Okay.
Maybe please just if anything can be suggested.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Radhe.
Radhe. Shalini ji, will you be able to give me your number so that I can? Okay, thank you everyone. I'll be closing the bridge now. Okay. Thank you, Shalini ji. I take your number. Thank you everyone. Radhe Radhe.